weekend?
Well, I was really impressed with our offense this weekend on how we were attacking early in games. We did it 2 out of 3 games. I thought it was excellent for us to go out in the first inning, even being the visiting team, and just putting up runs like that and putting pressure on the home team. And it always gives our pitchers a little bit of cushion too to work with as well, and our defense plays a little bit more loose. I felt like our kids are in a really good place team chemistry wise. Right now we have 0 to no drama. All of our kids, as soon as they step on the field, they've all got like that common purpose and they're all working together. So really, really proud of our seniors this weekend. They set the tone just with their attitude and effort and expectations. They're leading from the front, which I complimented all of those ladies this weekend on. Our success in San Antonio was because we had difference makers step up, and their actions are right where they need to be, and so is their effort and their mindset. So,
Touched a little bit about seniors. If you could talk about the pitching, really over the last 3 weekends, pitching staff really seems to have come on strong, and then obviously led by your 2 seniors, and Michaela Sykes and Callie Guffey.
pitching, they've just been consistent week to week. You get the same thing every week. They're going to be 85% to 90% accurate with their locations, and we're able to, watch film and scout hitters and have a plan. And because our pitchers are executing their pitches and they're, our plan for every hitter that we're facing, we're able to adjust our defense and be more successful in getting these kids outs. And we're able to make adjustments quicker. Like we had a little bit of an issue with the leadoff batter for Incarnate Word the first game, but we were able to all communicate, the pitchers, catchers, coaching staff, and kind of adjust our game plan to keep her off base. So I just feel like overall, it's just been the consistency and the communication that's put them on top. And obviously, Callie Guffey is getting better every single week. I've just seen her grow since the Lamar series. Her rise ball is, it's getting to where it needs to be. She can throw it low in the zone, she can throw it for a go-to pitch, and she can throw it for an out pitch. So I think Callie is coming on strong late, which is what we really need for her going into the tournament, and especially going into play McNeese and ACU in the next 2 weeks. Our pitchers have to be tough because both of these teams are they're senior heavy. They're offensively, both teams swing it, so our pitchers have to be really tough the next 2 weeks. And I think Michaela Sykes just gets better as she goes. I could throw her out there for 14 innings and she wouldn't even be phased. That kid gets stronger. The more distance she goes into games, the more pitches she throws, the stronger she gets.
You touched on a big couple series coming up. Talk a little bit about McNeese. Obviously, it's going to be a fight. They hit the ball hard. They hit the ball well. Talk about that matchup.
I'm excited, and I hope my team is excited. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. McNeese has beat teams, some of the best teams in the country this year. They've played with them, and they've got seniors who have that conference experience, have that postseason experience. They've got some big bombers. They got 2 kids with 25 home runs between 2 kids, and they're fast. They can run a little bit. So both of our catchers are going to have to do a good job. If people do get on base, we're going to have to make plays and throw some people out, which I think that both of our catchers can shut down the run game. So I feel pretty confident there. We're really just going to have to execute. We're going to have a plan for every hitter. We've got to keep their 1 and 2 off base. We've got to be careful with – you can't be careful with Biancaselli because you got Catrone right behind her, and she's just as clutch as Margarita Corona. Those 2 kids thrive under pressure. If there are 2 kids who thrive in those situations in this conference, it's Catrone and Corona. They love big moments. They love when people are on base, and they want people to pitch to them. So for us, we've just got to know our pitchers' strengths and our defensive strengths and execute our pitches. Our pitchers can't miss. And our pitchers need to know that, they're going to give up hits. We're going to give up hits. And we've got to be able to take a punch and throw a punch because it's going to be a fight. Our kids have got to respond. When McNeese strikes, we've got to strike back. And we've just got to keep it close as we can, and then being the home team, I feel like that's a huge advantage for us. We're going to get the last at-bat. We're going to still have a chance to be in the fight every single game. So for our kids, we need to play hard, keep it tight, and seize our moments. That's going to be the key to the series.
Obviously, you got McNeese coming in this weekend, ACU for the final Southland series of the regular season. 6 games, the 2 series. What are you preaching to the team this week, and what's the mindset each day of practice to keep everybody focused?
No fear. No fear. That's what's got us here. And just to be a team. Because we don't have a Piancaselli on our team. But what we do have is we've got some hardworking kids, we've got some great leaders, and we've got some really good teammates. Like, everybody right now in our dugout is doing their job. Like, we had the best dugout the entire game, whether it's keeping charts, whether it's being a pinch hitter. I mean, look at Lauren Becker. Like, that kid wasn't on the field for us consistently 4 weeks ago. But she seized her moment. She's been working extra. She's had a better attitude. She's been a great teammate. She's been selfless. She's, catching the pitcher in between innings for, Taylor Frack getting her gear on. And that kid is like put herself in a situation and done exactly what her team needed her to do. And this weekend we needed her to hit cleanup. And that kid got it done. And so for us, it's just having everyday kids be the best version of themselves. And that's why we're at where we're at. And that's why, we're going to go head-to-head with McNeese, and they better come ready to play. I'm telling you, they better come ready to play because we're going to be ready to go and we're going to give our best effort.
He's been doing really good in batting practice. He's had some really good swings in batting practice. He's had limited opportunities this year, but the opportunities that he has gotten, in midweeks and those kinds of things, he's really given us some really solid at bats. Really laid off some tough pitches and not necessarily gotten a hit every time, but just had some really good at bats, some quality at bats. Really kind of felt like that was a good spot for him because we had a pitcher who was kind of struggling with the zone a little bit. Had a guy who was having a hard time throwing strikes, and I kind of felt like that Tony was a good guy to send in there because he was gonna make the guy throw strikes. He wasn't going to swing anything out of the zone, and so we really kind of felt like it was a good spot for him. There was some spots earlier in the game we tried to get him in, but it didn't quite work out. But we got him in there, and he did a great job of getting a hit when we needed it.
You mentioned yesterday, too, Manny kind of struggled all weekend. I mean, here's a guy heading into that Sam Houston State series. He was batting .400 in conference play. He kind of tails off a little bit, and then yesterday, 3 for 6, 2 RBI, including the game winner. You kind of hoping this kind of, gets him busted out of that little slump to give you some more juice down there in the bottom end, 7, 8, 9 part of your order?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you kind of hope. I mean, Manny's a really streaky hitter. He can be scorching hot at times, and then at other times he struggles. I just kind of think that earlier in the series, I kind of think he swung at some pitches out of the zone. I think they did a good job of pitching, to him and pitching to his weaknesses. I just think there late, it was a situation where the guy didn't have much room for error, missed a spot, and Manny made the most of it.
Nick Daly goes down, excuse me, just with that foul tip off his hand there. What's kind of his status for the week? And we saw him come in as a pinch runner there and score the game-tying run on Sunday. Is he doing well from a health standpoint, and just kind of wants to get back?
Yeah, he's recovering from that. It's a broke finger. There's not really a whole lot you can do for a broke finger. What you do for that is just as tolerated kind of thing. They're going to splint him and put him in a finger splint, but it's just if and when he can handle the pain to come back. The problem is that when you're a hitter. Sometimes that's a little tougher because of the vibration of the bat and those kinds of things. Defensively, I don't think he has a problem, but we definitely don't want to put him in a situation to where offensively we don't feel like he can be the most productive he can be. So we're going to kind of take it day by day and kind of let him make the decision on when he feels like he's ready to come back.
Sure. You take a look at the standings here, and still just one game back from that 8th spot here, and you have the a pretty good majority of your second half left here, and you play those teams that are kind of right there in the mix with you, 8th, 9th, 10th spots. What does it really kind of come down to here over this kind of last stretch? You're headed into this week here against TCU, and then against an aggressive team in southeastern Louisiana.
Well, it's just real simple. What it comes down to over the last couple of weeks is how well we can pitch. If we can pitch to where we give our offense a chance like we did yesterday, I think we're in a position to where we can win games. But asking our offense to go out and score 10, 11 runs a game, that's just not going to happen. I think our pitching staff has got to do a better job of eliminating just cheap on base, opportunities for the other team, walks, hit by pitches. Defensively, we've got to do a better job of eliminating extra pitches for our pitchers and making sure that we don't make errors behind those guys. Offensively, what we have to do is we just have to stay the course. We have to stay to what we preach and not get outside of that. Sometimes when we get outside of that, our guys' swings kind of curtail a little bit, and so we want to make sure that we stay with those guys and make sure that offensively we stay with the same philosophy and the same approach. But what it's going to boil down to the last couple of weeks is how well we pitch down the stretch.
Does that kind of get magnified a little more against a team like Southeastern this weekend, who's, they'll steal a base every chance they get? I mean, their batting average may not look as impressive, but I mean, they're going to get themselves into scoring position. So you place a bigger emphasis on that, just making sure to pound that strike zone here this weekend.
That's the main thing. The main thing is to make them beat you offensively. If you're not paying attention to runners, if you're not good on the bunt game, if you're giving them free passes. Then they're going to be able to score runs. If you make them, hit 4 hits in an inning, I think anybody in our conference, that's kind of the plan, is to make them beat you by swinging the bat. They're no different. I think the thing that they pose, the problem that they pose, is that when they do get runners on, if we don't do a good enough job of holding runners, if we don't do a good enough job of making throws to second base, if we don't do a good enough job of controlling the run game, the bunt game, then we're going to be on the short end of it every day.
Sure. Jake Norton kind of starts out the year as a starter, but now he's kind of been pushed into that bullpen role, and you see him from the numbers last week: 6 strikeouts, just 2 walks. Is he kind of just going to adjust into that role? Is he going to kind of continue to flip-flop here throughout the year, depending on situationally?
Yeah, it's just kind of a situation and how he feels. We warmed him up yesterday to try to bring him in the game yesterday because we didn't know how long it was going to go in extras. But I mean, it's really just we're kind of playing a how does he feel, where is he at type thing. We've had more success from him out of the bullpen for sure. Because he can come in and throw his stuff for a couple of innings and feel pretty confident in what he's doing. Right now, I don't know that we make a change in our starting rotation because I think we've kind of locked into that's what we're going to do. If one of those guys were to get hurt, then we'd put Jake in there. But as of right now, he's kind of going to be a bullpen piece for us because we know what we're going to get out of him out of the bullpen.
It was a good day for us, for sure. That's what we've been trying to do several times. I think we'd had 6 of those, but who's counting? No. Yeah, we'd just been trying to finish. We'd put ourselves in good positions. We'd been competitive, even with the big heavyweights in the top half of the league. So to get that doubles point in a momentum-changing match there, I think at number 1 we were up 3-0, and then we lost 4 straight games, and then we won 11 straight points. Then we fought off 4 consecutive match points, and then won 4 straight games to win it. It was just a roller coaster, but that kind of, that really encapsulates some of the. Some of the journey that we'd been on momentum-wise there. So for that to happen and for us to get that doubles point, go into singles, knowing that we liked our matchups, knowing that we could get the 4, was again, the setup was there, and we did it. It actually looked like Sean was going to finish it off there. Armel dropped the first set, and so you just never know, and you just got to keep your head down and keep playing, and that's the biggest thing I think the young team, struggles with, and that's the part of our process that we, if you pay too much attention to it, maybe it gets in your head a little bit. Maybe that's what hurt us earlier on. But you could see the maturity and growth there. You could see us doing some things that we weren't able to do. Armel continued her attack. She lost the first set, just stayed calm, and continued her attack, got a little bit sharper as it went on, and forced the other girl to make some errors. And so it was a great team effort, good way to end it. Happy for her to get the clinch there, and it was a good team win. So, I don't know how we could have, scripted it to go any better in that fashion. And Incarnate Word there clinched the spot in the conference tournament there. So that knowing that we got a good win to send it out right, I think it's a good feeling for the girls, and I think they enjoyed that. So proud of the effort, and it's a good way to end it, man.
Do you think you kind of played a little bit more aggressively? I mean, you didn't really. in terms of like giving away points and just making unforced errors and stuff like that, do you think that it was a little cleaner in the process yesterday than it has been maybe in weeks past?
Yes, for sure. We have cleaned it up, and that's just because we're still invested and still trying to be better at our process in April, and so I credit that to mindset and just at least investment during the match yesterday. Had just a weird couple weeks with rescheduled matches and practice time being altered, and a lot of teams could have handled that very poorly. And so when you put it all together there. Did we play our best match yesterday? I'm not sure, but that was a match we could have and you could argue would have lost, 2 months ago. Absolutely. And so I felt like that we did see some cleaner play. With regard to that crazy momentum shift there at number one doubles, we did a good job of not letting that train go too far off the track and just staying on course there. So felt good about that for sure. Saw like I said, saw some development, saw some maturity, and there's a lot of value in that, knowing that they're coming back and have that experience.
You touched on this a little bit already, but from a personnel standpoint, everybody from an eligibility standpoint, everybody returns, everybody kind of gets retained. The lessons learned from this year, obviously, how do you think that's kind of going to help all these individuals and, just, finishing the job there and finishing on a high note yesterday, how do you think that's going to help the team kind of moving forward here into 18-19 as you kind of look forward and prepare things here?
Yeah, well, I mean, the part of it that you try to control is your story, our story, how we want that to play out. So, you could say, well, we would have more confidence if we won a few of those and the record was a little bit more balanced. But, I think the struggle through that adversity and learning some tough lessons there is probably more valuable. If you're not gonna make the conference tournament and make a deep run, or 2 or 3 wins here and there valuable? I mean, what does it mean? So I think we have a little time to kind of reflect on the year and go back and look at it, put our spin on it, put the storyboard we want to it, and understand how valuable some of these matches were and how they can help us in the future. Then there's nothing that could be more positive there. The growth that comes through that adversity and through that failure, and knowing that we've been through it, is what leads to that confidence to take it up a notch and be stronger mentally and physically next year. And when you just have an older team, a team that trusts more. They've been in those dirty situations, and they just know that, hey, we saved 4 match points in a row and won a doubles point. Those things you just can't calculate the worth. And so, but our story's yet to be written, and so it just depends on how we kind of put it to bed and grow through the summer. I know we've got some kids that are, they want to take a couple weeks off, but they've got summer plans. They want to keep getting better at tennis, and the good news is 3 or 4 of them are playing as well as they've played thus far in their career. Those 2 girls that Gabby and Dorinka beat yesterday are very good. Very good. Those were good wins. So, I'm just excited to see the way they put it together through the summer and come back. And I think it's going to be at the end of the day, you're going to look back and see the growth and see the maturity that was really earned. In a weird way, we earned it. And so, but time will tell.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And then specific players as well.
Well, I think when you look at the broad stroke of things, I really like the attitude and the energy that all the players brought for the most part every day. And to that end, the coaching staff. You had several new coaches. And I think that attitude and energy is infectious, and we really believe that, once you kind of catch that bug and it spreads. So I really thought that the attitudes were really good. I thought the energy level was high. I thought the effort was high. Was really impressed with our corners group. We only had 4 corners this spring, and they were there every day. And there was a lot of growth there. Obviously, it wasn't always, good or perfect, but I was really impressed with that group. I think our D-line is going to be the strength of our defense. But as the practices waned on, we started having some bumps and bruises. Lamont Alexander who's played a lot of football here the last 3 years, didn't really practice at all this spring. Demetrion Amy went down fairly early with a concussion, so we were really cautious with him. Shaquille Anderson and Gary Sampson, were hit and miss, but I really think the depth there, Desmond Robinson's still rehabilitating a knee injury. I think the depth there and our body types and those kind of things are going to be it's going to be a real strength for us. I think probably the most impressive player amongst that group was Paul Hill. Paul really took advantage. Paul's a fourth-year junior in our program. Really took advantage of those opportunities with Lamont down and really got better each and every day. So I was very, very pleased with that on the defensive side of the football. On the offensive side of the football, a non-scholarship player really earned his way, and that was Ladarian Cobb. I was very impressed with him. He's a big kid at 6'3", 200 pounds, transferred in last year from a Division II school, sat out this entire year, has been working hard. I really thought he flashed. And, of course, Remy Simmons and Josh Thompson at the Z receiver. We graduated Trey Hart there. Taryn Gorey was having to kind of move back and forth last year, so we could keep Taryn pretty much outside. And those two young men really came in and made an impression. From an overall standpoint, again, I think we got a lot of work done. I do feel like that there was more that we wanted to get done. Some of that had to do with the body count. Some of that had to do with the weather. But overall, I think that what we wanted to get introduced, get our new coaches up to speed, let them learn the personalities and the skill sets that they have at each of their positions, I thought was good. But I do feel like there were some things, we really didn't get that last scrimmage in. Would have liked to have gotten another practice in. But you get to a point of no return, of going, too hard, too much, and that's kind of where we were headed. As far as Saturday's concerned, I was real pleased with what we were able to get accomplished. I thought the players moved around. Obviously a sudden change, moving the time from 6 o'clock to basically 2:30, 3 o'clock. So we were able to get a good hour and a half practice in, hit on the kicking game, a little bit of individual work. We were able again to attack some field zone work, red zone coming out, some third down work, and then some group work as well and team. So I was very pleased with that. It was junior day, had well over 125 recruits here and their families and some of our upcoming, freshmen that'll be enrolling this summer and in the fall. And so it was a big day on campus, piggybacked on top of Wally's soccer visits and their alumni game. So I thought it was a solid day on Saturday.
That leads right into the next question about the kind of a showcase practice. I think if you look around the nation, some other teams are doing the same thing as well. Do you think that format went well and maybe something in the future?
Yeah, I really did. And we talked about it as a staff this morning. I really think that that's probably the direction we need to go, in the springtime, whether you everybody has off-season surgeries, so those young men are either limited or can't participate, then you're going to have your bumps and bruises throughout spring practice. I think going with a showcase practice is probably the wave of the future. I know North Dakota State, closer to home, McNeese State didn't have a spring game. North Dakota State didn't have a spring game. I look at a lot of the Power 5 schools, they're not. Of course, some of them still are. But I think for where we are and who we want to be and the quality of work, I think that this is probably the direction we'll go in the future. I do see us adding a live segment years that we feel like that we have the depth and the bodies to do that. So I think you're going to see more and more schools moving away from traditional spring games and more to these showcase type practices, scrimmages to kind of end up spring practice because even when you watch these spring games on TV. They list the 3 or 4 goals, and always one of the goals is to get out healthy. I mean, that's everybody's goal is to, get out of that last scrimmage as healthy as you can. And so if that is a big goal, and it is for all of us, then we can kind of control that by not going, live as much, with tackling and so forth. So I do think that this is probably the direction that we'll move with, and I think you'll see more of that across the country.
Definitely. Talk a little bit about, you touched on injuries, a lot of guys being out this spring, postseason surgeries, everything like that. Kind of what's the plan, the timetable for some of those key players to return for summer on-field workouts?
Yeah, obviously, and again, most programs have off-season surgeries, so for example, Devontae Jones, had an off-season surgery. Foster Sawyer was, during the season. Desmond Robinson was during the season, and there were others. A few we were able to get back. With all that being said, it's our hope, with the exception of maybe Desmond Robinson, our freshman defensive end from Atlanta, Texas, that by mid-June that we'll have everybody healthy and in full participation, hopefully with little or no modifications to their workout. Because that was the other thing that we were having to deal with, was that young men that could participate in a limited capacity, their off-season work the last 10, 12 weeks, has been modified. Couldn't do squats, couldn't do upper body or whatever it may be. So, so it's kind of been of a juggling act, as it is on a lot of campuses. But it's our hope to have everybody, with the exception of maybe one or two, full speed with little or no modifications by June the 15th. So that makes the next, several weeks of our, continued off-season training, rehabilitation, treatments, and those kind of things very, very important before the kids leave to go home. So when they get back at the 1st of June, we're as full speed as we can be.
Lastly, what's the message to the team as a whole during the off-season? Everybody's hitting the weight room hard, getting ready for summer when you can return to the field. What's the message or the mindset that you want the guys to have?
Well, just be hungry. I mean, we've got a lot of winners in this program, and for a variety of reasons, starting with myself, we just haven't been able to get it done the last couple of years. And so I want this group to be hungry. I think we have some talent. I know we're going to have an infusion of additional talent come this summer. We just signed a safety from a grad transfer safety that's going to come in here out of the Big Ten, along with the other young men that have already been publicly known about. So, we're excited about the players that we have on campus and their development and their continued development. And we're certainly looking forward to the infusion of talent and maturity and experience from some of the transfers, and then what we think is a pretty talented freshman class coming in as well. So we just want this bunch to be hungry and be resilient, and know that what's happened here the last couple of years is not acceptable, and they know that. They want to paint a picture of this program being a title contender year in and year out, and that's our goal, and certainly worthy of postseason consideration. So that's where we're headed. That's what we want. This is an important period of time right now, even though our on-the-field work is complete, that we full court press our academics, making sure that we clearly understand what we have to get finished there. There's a lot of work that usually comes the last couple of weeks of the semester. And the other part that we touched on was just our rehabilitation, our treatment, and make sure that we're on point so that when we do get back in June, we get this complete team here, hopefully in June, that we move forward as a hungry football team, that things are going to be different. And I think it really started with their attitudes and their energy this spring. I was very impressed with that, and that's where it's got to start. The culture's got to start with energy and attitude. And I thought for the most part every day they brought that to practice. I mean, of the 14 practices, there might have been one practice where you just went up and you looked at the tape and you said, I'm not sure we got a whole lot better today. And that's been better than it has been in the past. So, I'm excited about this bunch. I really like our new coaches. I really like how the other coaches have, really dug in. And we've got a lot to prove, and we're looking forward to that challenge to do that against a very tough schedule. But we'll get into that later some other day. But you know, it's about our team right now and the focus that we have on ourselves to get bigger, stronger, faster, healthier, academically right, and do the things and go through the paces that we need to go through this summer to be a title contender and a playoff-worthy team.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, appreciate you, Luke.